Welcome to another video. Today actually gonna break down Unreal Lighting. I'm doing a video for Gabor Turi. I hope I pronounced the name correctly, but I'm assuming I didn't, so sorry about that. This is his level or environment that he lit for nighttime. So let's look at the video that he did make, and he put it around the internet. So I think it's a good idea to notice everything is pretty bright. You can see everything is popping out a lot, and it's generally doesn't necessarily look like it's nighttime, right? So I'm not gonna do a step-by-step video. As I said, I don't do step-by-step if I can avoid it, and that's mostly because we're talking about the process and the mindset to make you independent, so you don't keep paying or spending too much time on content that just teaches you the technical things and don't explain why. So this is my version. I just quickly did. Spent about an hour fixing things and an hour just putting out the light and everything. So in comparison, you can see there's a big difference. I would argue it looks more like night. I would argue it looks a bit more interesting. Now there are many things I would keep doing and keep doing different, but to speed this up, I'll break down what I have done and why I've done it and what else I would done to continue working on it if it was my environment or my level. So to start it out with, I would say if you look at the post-process volume I have, this is one of the key things I've done. I've just set the camera to be 15 shutter speed, 6400 ISO and an aperture of 2.8. Now the reason for this is these are not necessarily the setting I use when I do night photography, but using night photography, this is generally the setting I would go for. Preferably I would go for shutter speed 25 and an ISO of 1002, but in this case, because of various reasons, I had to increase the ISO so the camera would take in the light from the moonlight, because it's pretty dim lighting when I'm using the actual light settings. So I need a camera or the post-process volume to capture the light so you can actually see the environment like you would as a human being. Now the key thing to remember here is I'm not using the 70-16 rule, which is a different rule for daytime lighting. This is closer to something we call the 500 rule, which is for night photography. This is the key thing, this is the key difference. So if I were to start messing around with it, you'll see it's brightening it up and it's becoming similar to his lighting. Okay, this is very important to understand exposure and how it works. So if I were to go into the EV, turn it off, you'll see it's pretty dark on EV1, which is based on the EV100. In some cases I would also go to -6 if needed, but for this particular piece this is what I've done. Very important. Second most important thing, which broke the lighting, which you can see in the videos provided here and the images, you can see things are popping up a lot. Like this is popping up, this is popping up, this is popping out. There's a lot of pop-up effect going on. Now the reason for that is the materials are not PBR based correctly. Does that mean I spend time making them all correct? Not, of course not. As I said, I make these videos to help people, but also to remind you that I do have a mentorship where you can pay me for my time and my expertise, and I can coach you and teach you more about things on a more advanced level, but also make you independent and tell you what resources to read and use, which is very important if you're going to be doing this in a good way. So naturally, for the materials, what I've done, these are not PBR correct, but what I've done, I've increased the roughness and reduced the metallic. Initially the settings provided, they are very high level of metallic and very low in roughness, which makes them pop up a lot, and you get this weird reflection going on. The second thing I've done is just very quickly I have placed out various of reflection probe. Again, these are not perfect, but they serve the purpose for this video and for the purpose of explaining things. The second different thing I've also done is I've replaced the sky with an editor sky sphere, and in there I have put in HDR sky. Now the HDR sky is set up to have rotation nodes that I can rotate. So basically what this says is that if it allows me to rotate the HDR, if you ever done HDR lighting and you put it up on the sphere, you can notice it doesn't rotate. So this allows me to rotate it so I can place the moon details and buildings away from the shots or the environment. And these controllers that basically allows me to adjust the contrast and brightness and the tint. So why is this important? Well, if I were to go back to this one and I would return this, it would be super bright. It would not serve the purpose for a nighttime that I'm going for. And also I've gone to HDR Haven and I've downloaded this HDR map. And again, I've set it to HDR, turn off the sRGB. I have taken it to no MIP map because this is not a game texture, so we don't need it to render differently. And generally I've made sure that this is ready for the HDR map that we created here. Now in terms of the skylight, I have boosted it up to 4 just to get some control back because it's pretty dark. Otherwise if I do it like 1, you can get away with it to a certain degree, but this can work too. But I didn't want to spend more time of my time placing out more placeholder light, but I would definitely do that. I would be going here on the back here and here, and just spend some time placing some custom lighting to highlight the area. But to kind of skip that time, this is just to show the process of what you can do when you increase the intensity scale of your skylight. You can do it selectively using spotlight, right? Which is normally what I would do. I would use the spotlight and I would be putting a light there to create those shapes more clearly. Okay, for the directional light, I've used about 0.5 lux. This is the approximate for moon lighting, and again that is why you have the camera settings to capture the light correctly. Alright, in terms of the rendering setting, I have a static level scale of 0.1 and I just take it to 10. I haven't touched lighting quality or smoothness, mostly because, and I also haven't touched the light map density, so they are pretty low in general. So I'm not optimized, so I haven't done that either. Now, some of the key things that I've done just to enhance the scene quickly, to explain the stuff you can do more of, is that for the bonfires I've used point light, and these are like how should I put, these are stationary, so they are both baked and real time, so to speak. And I've done it to 550 luminance. Now that is because a candle is around, I think, 13 lux or luminance or something, and I believe a torch, I normally put it on 250, gives a good look and it looks correct. So therefore I put it on 550. So I'm using, trying to use real life measurement to decide the concept here. But I have also created a attenuation radius of 1500. But the key thing I have done to enhance the scene a bit is that I've done static lighting on towards this train and the boxes, so you can see it, and a little bit down here on the back to the grass. As you can see, I've done the same here to just highlight this thing over here. You can see I've done the same here, that I'm trying to highlight the area that I want the character to walk. Now, would I've had this layout, would I've had this layout for the campfire personally. Probably not. I would have done some changes, and I probably would have also gone into the house, and I would probably have had maybe some white light or something that came out of the building to kind of insinuate or suggest that the player should be entering the building as well. So I might have gone, you know, put the light there and figure out the settings. Maybe it's a building light, right? And I might try and see, okay, how far can I push this light. Maybe if I do lumens and I go like, maybe it's a super bright light, you know. So I would maybe probably do something like this to make it stand out a bit more and tweak it and all those things, right? And of course you might have to do something like this as well, right? And you might take away the bonfire in this case. So in this case I might decide, okay, this doesn't serve the point or the purpose anymore. So what happens if I hide it? Does it give more story, more purpose? It's possible. So these are some of the tweaks I would have done if it was my environment and I really wanted to push it properly to a higher level. And again, another thing I've done, I've put these moon enhancement lights and I baked it to get some spot here and some highlights there, and it also brightens up this area which is a bit blue, right? So these are some of the things I've also done. Now, more importantly, this is by far not completed. I will also probably have gone here and I would have maybe considered playing with the bloom a little bit to see, okay, can I push it to a certain degree that suits me, or is that too hard? And these are kind of the things I would think about as well. And then of course in some cases I would consider some image effect. I would probably also adjust the settings for the shadows of midtone. So let's say I didn't want to have for whatever reason, let's say I kept it on 1. There are many reasons I would have done that as well, mind you. So I would have maybe gone into the gamma for the shadow, and I might increase it like so instead, and perhaps even give it a bit of color, right, like so. I might have gone into the midtone as well, gone to the gamma, and maybe say, okay, can I push it even more, less, more, less, bit more? If so, maybe make it a bit like a bit more blue, dark blue. And then next question is, would I maybe go into the gamma? Okay, what would I have done there? Is there something I could do to highlight these areas? And I'm looking at the bright spots here. Maybe not. Maybe I need to use gain for that. So there are certain things I would take more time, obviously, and more seriously, and I would tweak this to get the necessarily look of. Sometimes I might white balance it or tweak it to have like more game-like colors, which is like exaggerated blue, but in reality Moonlight is actually more white. Well, it's not really white either, but in this case I've kept it somewhat to light blue. So I would tweak these things if needed as well, or I would make a color grading LUT instead, which I can make a video of as well in the future. So this is how my version looks, and this is his version. So hopefully you have learned the process of how quickly you can make a, you know, basic night scene that serves your purpose. So I hope please like and subscribe my video, please share, I do appreciate it. I'm hoping to reach 500 subscribers. It's always nice to know people like my content, so it's good if you get in touch with me and let me know, like Gabor has done, which is why I'm also making the video for Gabor. So keep it up, and I should get ready for work. Thanks for watching.